Hey guys, this is Mrs. Porsche. I hope that you are all happy and safe with your families. I miss you very much. Today, I am going to walk you through day 3 of the packet. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what I am looking at. So I have made a little smart notebook to walk through day 3 with you guys. So welcome to day 3. Today, your reading task was to read. If you own a pet, then you know all pets need time to adjust when you first bring them home. Read The Pet Problem, then complete the reading response questions for the article. So I am going to read this with you, and this is a fiction reading. So at the end of it, we are going to work on characters, setting, problem, and solution together. So please follow along as I read to you. The Pet Problem. 10-year-old Joshua is reading a book in the living room when he is startled by the sound of the sliding door banging shut. Joshua sees his father coming inside, obviously upset. Joshua, hey Dad, I thought you were going to relax in the backyard. But that was the world's shortest nap. Dad, I was looking forward to a nap in the hammock, but I was shocked to find it in shreds. Joshua, how did that happen? Dad, well, why don't you come here to the window and take a look? Joshua walks over and looks into the backyard. Joshua sees the hammock ripped in half, the remaining two pieces dangling from the hooks. Joshua gasps when he sees his dog Apollo happily chewing on a piece of fabric. Joshua, Apollo did it. But why did he chew up your hammock? He's got a zillion things to play with. Dad, this isn't the first time Apollo has damaged something. Remember how Apollo dug up your mother's garden? I know you love Apollo, but we can't continue to let him destroy everything he sees. If we can't figure out how to keep Apollo from being so destructive, we'll have to find him another home. Joshua, you can't give Apollo away. Besides, he's part of our family. Dad, I like Apollo too, but I want to be able to relax in the backyard and not worry about which of my things he's going to rip apart next. Joshua, I could tie Apollo to the tree in the backyard and then he won't be able to dig up or chew on anything. Dad, Apollo can't stay tied up all the time. We need to talk to someone who knows a lot about dogs. If we talk to Apollo's vet, he might have some information that will help us solve this problem. Joshua and his father wait with Apollo inside an exam room at Dr. Hamilton's office. Apollo barks as the door opens, and Mr. Hamilton enters. Dr. Hamilton, how can I help you today? Dad, we've got a real problem. Apollo has been destroying everything in our backyard, and we need a way to stop this behavior. Joshua, Apollo is the best dog in the world, and I don't want to send him away. Dr. Hamilton, Apollo is a German Shepherd and needs to stay active. He's probably bored. Try walking him for an hour at least 2 times a day and take him to the dog park for exercise and train him so he learns what he can and can't do. Dad, we'll follow your advice. We'll follow your advice, Dr. Hamilton, and see what happens. 1 month later, Joshua plays with Apollo in the backyard while his dad swings in a new hammock. Joshua, Apollo has gotten so much better that I can't believe this is the same dog. I'm glad we talked to the vet. Dad, I'm glad we found a solution to our pet problem, which means now I can relax in peace. So right here, we're going to read this text box. It says, did you know? Everyone, even the President of the United States, can benefit from expert advice when it comes to solving problems. The 16 members of the cabinet give the president advice on any subject he requires, including education, health, and transportation. So now we're going to look at the characters in this story. So the characters in this story were Joshua, Apollo the dog, Dad, and the vet, who, if I go back into the story, I can find his name. The vet's name was Dr. Hamilton. Now I need to think about the setting of the story. So I'm going to go back into the story and I'm going to look again at the paragraphs. And right here, I remember reading in the beginning that they were at home. So most of the story takes place at Joshua's house with Apollo and Dad the dog. Now they do go to the vet's office to seek Dr. Hamilton's help, but the main setting in the story is Joshua's house. The main problem in this story, so it seems to be that they're talking about one character an awful lot. They're talking about Apollo the dog a lot. So the story starts off by Dad coming in looking obviously upset. So see how I'm going back and I'm making sure that I have text evidence to support the things that I'm saying. So Dad was obviously upset. And now I'm going to reread and see if I can find why Dad was upset. Dad says, well, why don't you come here and take a look out the window? Josh walks over to the backyards and he sees the hammock ripped in half and Apollo chewing happily on a piece of fabric. So the problem in this story is Apollo the dog, is chewing and destroying. He needs some training. So the solution, so how do they solve this problem? What do Dad and Joshua decide to do? So if I look back on the second page, it talks about, I like Apollo too, and I want to be able to relax in the backyard with him without having to worry about him ripping things up. So then they talk about, if we talk to Apollo's vet, he might have some information that will help us solve this problem. And then they visit the vet, and the vet says Apollo is a German Shepherd and needs to stay active. So the vet gives them this really good piece of advice. He says, try walking him for an hour at least 2 times a day and take him to a dog park to get exercise. And in the end of the story, we hear that that solution works. Dad says, I'm glad we found a solution to our pet problem. So the solution in this story is Dr. Hamilton tells Joshua and Dad that Apollo needs to stay active and get exercise. And that is how they solve their problem. So now that we've done this hard work of identifying these important fiction story elements, we can use those things to now help us answer the questions for the reading for day 3. So day 3 says, number 1, what was the conflict in this story? Well, in the pieces we've already identified, we already identified the problem. Question 2, what did the main characters do to try and solve this conflict? We already have that in our solution. Number 3, were their attempts to solve the conflict successful? How do you know? Well, we talked about when we were finding the answer to the solution, we talked about on the end of page 2, this is where we'll find our text evidence for that answer. And the last question, in 10 words or less, summarize what happened in the story. You must include the main characters, the conflict, and the resolution. We already identified all of that. So if we turn character, setting, problem, and solution into a short paragraph, we will have our summary. The next piece of your reading and writing for the day was the writing. Create a pet guide for a family looking to bring home a pet for the first time. Be creative. So I have included 2 examples, just 2 pictures of brochures. So this brochure is folded into 2 different pieces, and they kind of made like a mini booklet out of it. This brochure has been folded into 3 pieces, so folded into itself, and they've made a brochure that way. You can make a brochure about anything that you want. Now, the examples that I have happen to be dogs, and the article that we read today was also about dogs, but dogs are not the only kinds of pets. So you could do yours about anything. I know some people have pet lizards, like bearded dragons. So you could do yours about a bearded dragon. Maybe you don't have a dragon and you'd like to have one. You can put together something that would help. Maybe you could convince your parents you can get one. You can also write this about an animal you want to have. So maybe a pet that you have, maybe a pet you want to have. Make sure you include lots of important information, like in the article that we read, how the vet told them they need to walk the dog and play with the dog so he doesn't get bored. Make sure your brochures include information like that too. The next piece that we are going to do is we are going to review the math problem that Miss Foster introduced to you guys yesterday. So Maria, Kara, and Tommy order one pizza to share. Maria eats 1/4 of the pizza. Kara eats 1/8 of the pizza, and Tommy eats 3/8 of the pizza. How much of the pizza is left? So Miss Foster in her video yesterday pointed out that these denominators are not the same. We have 1/4, 1/8, and 3/8. So we already know, looking at this problem, that we're going to have to find a common denominator. So we are going to solve this problem using problem-solving steps. So the first thing we're going to do is list what we know. We know that they ordered one whole pizza. We know that Maria ate 1/4. We know that Kara ate 1/8. And we know that Tommy ate 3/8. So we need to figure out, this problem is asking us, how much of the pizza is left? But to figure that out, we have to do a first step. So this is going to be a multi-step word problem, because in order for us to figure out how much is left, we have to know how much Maria, Kara, and Tommy ate all together. So to do that, we're going to have to add these fractions together, but we know that we can't add fractions that do not have the same denominators. So we're going to have to find a least common denominator of 4 and 8. So to do this, we can make a list of common denominators for 4 and for 8. So we're going to list their multiples. So the multiples of 4 would be 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4, well, we're going to do this. Actually, we're going to make a t-chart. I think that will be a little bit neater. So we'll make our t-chart for 4 first. So here's our t-chart for 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. And we're going to start our t-chart for 8. Now remember, I'm looking for the least common multiple. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 8 is 24. So I think we might have already found our least common denominator. As I'm looking at our list of common multiples, I see that they share, let me circle in a different color. So I see that they share an 8, and that is their least common multiple. So I know that I'm going to want to make all of these fractions. So 1/4 needs to become a fraction that has an 8 in the denominator. So I need to make an equivalent fraction out of it. So I'm going to have to figure out how to fill in this missing denominator. So I can use my T-charts that I made. 4 times what made 8? Well, 4 times 2 made 8. So whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the top, to the numerator. So my new numerator is 2/8. So 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. So now I can add all these together because I had 1/4, which is now 2/8, and 1/8 and 3/8. Those all have the same denominator now, so those can all be added up. So I'm going to go to a new page so we've got room to do this. So we are adding 2/8 plus, we'll add Kara, so plus 1/8. So if I'm adding those together, the denominators are the same, so they will stay the same. Now I add the numerators. 2 plus 1 makes 3, 3/8. Now, so we've added Maria, we added Kara, now we need to add Tommy's to see how much in total they ate. So we'll do Tommy's over here. So we have 3/8, that's what Maria and Kara ate, plus the 3/8 that Tommy ate. So the denominators stay the same, 8 and 8. And we add the numerators. 3 plus 3 makes 6. So all together they ate 6/8. Now what is one whole pizza? Well, one whole pizza, if we made a little picture, so we'll make a little circle here. One whole pizza, let's divide our shape into 8s because our denominator is 8. So the pizza is split into 8 equal pieces. Now we know from our addition that they ate 6/8 of the pizza. So we can color in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8. They all together, Maria, Kara, and Tommy, ate 6/8 of the pizza. So how many eighths are left? Well, there are 2 ways that we could solve this. We could look at our picture and count how many eighths are left. So there's 1/8 and 2/8 left. Or we can do a bit of subtraction. We can take our 6/8, because we know that's how many pieces they ate all together. We can take our 6/8 and we can subtract, well, we'll need to do it like this. We can subtract the one whole pizza and the 6/8 that they ate. So they started out with 8/8. They ate 6 of the 8ths, so they are left with 2/8, which is what our picture showed us as well. 2/8, which is what our picture shows is left. So how much of the pizza is left? 2/8 of the pizza is left. Now this fraction can be simplified, but we'll simplify it after we checked it. So our solving, we did this step on this page and this page. So now that's all left. Now that all we have left to do is check it. So to check our work, we are going to take how much pizza we say is left and add to it how much pizza they ate, and it should equal one whole pizza. So 2/8 that we say is left plus the 6/8 we said they ate should equal the total pizza of 8/8. So the denominators stay the same. They are common denominators. 2 plus 6 makes 8. So that equals 8/8 or one whole pizza. So we know our answer is right because we checked it using the opposite operation. So this is how to solve a problem like this. Now, there's one more thing that I want to touch on, and the problem doesn't say to simplify, but we know that it's a good fraction practice to simplify because this fraction, 2/8, our answer, can be simplified. So to simplify a fraction, we find the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator. So to do that, we list the factors of 2 and the factors of 8. So factors mean what numbers can you multiply together to build this number. So 1 times something makes 2. Well, 1 times 2 makes 2. And 2 times 1 makes 2. And that is a flip-flop because the orders of these two factors flipped from 1 times 2 to 2 times 1. So those are all the factors of the number 2. We'll do the same thing for 8 now. 1 times 8 equals 8. 2 times 4 equals 8. Anything times 3? Nothing times 3. Anything times 4? Yeah. 4 times 2 makes 8. And right there is a flip-flop because the order of these two factors have flipped. So I know I'm done listing factors for 8. So I see that they share in common a 1. I see that they share a 2. And that is it. So we would say that the greatest common factor is 2. Now we use the GCF to divide the numerator and the denominator by it to reduce the fraction. So I take the 2/8 that we started with and I divide the denominator by 2 and the numerator by 2 because that was my GCF. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Another way to think about it is what times 2 equals 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Another way to think about that is 4 times 2 equals 8. So my simplified fraction would be 1/4. So if I was simplifying, my answer would be 1/4 of the pizza is left. But we know 2/8 of the pizza is equivalent to that. Now your problem for day 4, well, this is the one you'll be reviewing on day 4, but this is the problem on your packet under day 3. This is the problem you'll be working on today and reviewing with Mr. Grant tomorrow. The coach wanted the student to run 25 miles in 5 days. On Monday, students ran 5 miles. On Tuesday, they ran 4.3 miles and ran 6 7/75 more miles on Wednesday. How many more miles do they need to run to meet the goal? So Mr. Grant will be reviewing that problem with you tomorrow, but a good strategy to use would be to think about how are these 5 days split up? Ms. Foster showed you a good picture yesterday on how to solve the problem from day 1, where she visualized the whole and figured out how many different pieces it was broken up into. So this one, you would take the whole 25 miles and you're splitting it up into 5 days. They've already told you 1, 2, 3 days. So you can use that strategy to help you solve that problem. Don't forget to choose one of the math games from your packet to play at home with a partner and write the name of the game that you chose, and to visit Dreambox to play for at least 20 minutes and list the names of the games that you've played on Dreambox. For science today, there's an infographic titled "Protecting Our Planet Starts With You." We are going to look at that together, and then you're going to be creating your own poster or infographic, encouraging others to do their part to protect our watershed. Include a title, colorful illustrations, and helpful tips for keeping our watershed clean and healthy. So the infographic that they have shown you has pictures, it has a title, and it has lots of useful tips for things that you can do and people that you know can do at home to protect our watershed. Bike more, drive less. They included a picture of a bicycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Cut down on what you throw away. Follow the 3 R's to conserve natural resources and landfill space. Choose sustainable. So they have a picture of seafood here. Learn how to make smart seafood choices at www.fishwatch.gov. So here they've included a resource for you to check out to further your information on this. Trees provide food and oxygen. They help save energy, clean the air, and help combat climate change. So they gave you an example of planting a tree. Don't send chemicals into our waterways. Choose non-toxic chemicals in the home and the office. So here they put a picture of a cleaner as an example. Buy less plastic and bring a reusable shopping bag. So they have also included another picture. Conserve water. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater that eventually ends up in the ocean. And they included a picture of water. Educate. When you further your own education, you can help others understand the importance and the value of natural resources. And they included a picture of books. Volunteer. Volunteer for cleanups in your community. You can get involved in protecting your watershed too. So I have included some ideas for your own poster. You could take pictures of you and your family recycling, planting plants, or using less water, and include that in your poster. You can draw pictures of what other kids just like you can do to help clean up their communities and our world. And you can do some more research, like perhaps you could visit this website and it would take you to other websites, or maybe you are interested in learning more about runoff and what runoff means. So you can look into those things and you could put those resources on your poster. You can do some research online and educate yourself and your family, keeping the planet clean, and include the resources like the websites you and your families found. So that would be a great thing to include on your infographic. Again, the directions were create your own poster or infographic encouraging others to do their part to protect our watershed. Include a title, colorful illustrations, and helpful tips for keeping our watershed clean and healthy. So I think that's all for day 3. If you have any questions or you're not sure about one of the things that we are working on or that you are working on today, don't hesitate to reach out to your teacher, email them, ask them questions about the work, because we'd love to hear from you. Well, that's it, guys. You guys have a great Wednesday, and I hope to see you and hear from you soon. Bye.